should fly with me. Come on, a father-son trip. It'll be fun.
Yeah, right. You know, most people don't have the luxury of just picking up and leaving it all behind, Daniel.
We agreed that if I let you take me to the airport, you wouldn't lecture me about how I'm ruining my life.
I lied. Hello.
Are you the father of Daniel Avery?
Martin, I have to tell you, I feel like this movie seemed like a departure from something that I would envision you doing. It seemed like a different kind of movie, a different kind of role. Why is it that you decided you wanted to do this?
Well, it's himself, the major reason. You know, he wrote it for me, and we worked on it together, although he composed the whole piece. But I knew he was onto something very special. Of course, it's a father-son story, and it's a deeply personal relationship in the film, as well as our own personal relationship. But the guy was not, in the beginning at least, a very likable guy. He was unto himself. He was a bit of a curmudgeon. He was not a citizen of the world yet. He has a long way to go, and Emilio had to kind of rein me in so that I didn't, you know, jump to the ending at the beginning. So he really very skillfully and very specifically tailored the part for me.
So is your relationship better or worse now that you made this movie together?
We'll see after the tour.
We have another 4 weeks on the tour, and so far we're not at each other's throats.
What?
Is it 4 weeks?
4 weeks.
3.5.
Are you on the, I saw the bus.
We're on the
big,
bus,
huge
yeah.
bus. Are you really on the
We're-
bus, or
yeah.
are you like, we're on the
No.
bus for a few minutes and then you hop on
We
a
rolled
regular
in
bus,
here
yeah.
at 3 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, it's a full tour bus. We started about 17 days ago, 18 days ago.
Longer, yeah. We out of Los Angeles to San Jose, to San Rafael, to San Francisco, to Las Vegas, to Phoenix, and
New Mexico, and
Denver, and
This
Texas.
on and on and on.
This movie is really about a journey. And so what was the journey like for you to do this with your father?
Well, it's always a treat to work with him. He, you know, I like to think that I bring out the best in him. You know, years ago, the famous legendary director John Huston was asked, you know, who is your favorite actor? And Huston, who directed his father in Treasure Sierra Madre, said, well, that would be my father. So I feel the same way. He's my favorite actor, and to have an opportunity to work with him on this, in a role that, as you mentioned, is so different. It's just been really gratifying all around. It's been a really exciting period of our lives. You know, we're very close anyway. I mean, I live right down the street from them. My parents together now 50 years, and they're my best friends.
That doesn't
And
happen in
so,
Hollywood,
right?
does it?
No, not
That's
at all.
It doesn't happen always in the real world, does it?
No, no, they've set the bar pretty high. So the film and the filmmaking, and now this tour are sort of an extension of that. You know, it's about family, it's about community, it's about faith, it's about staying connected, and we certainly are.
It's interesting, you have a line in the movie, something to the effect of, our children are the very best of us and are the very worst of us. Do you believe that?
I do, yeah, and I can prove it on both ends, both as a parent and a child. You know, yeah, I think that's a very, very good description of how most parents would look at their children, no matter what, because you know, the parents, you know, created and built the machine. They know where all the buttons are to push. You know, so whether you're a parent or a child, you could say the same thing about your parents. You know, a child could look at their parents and say they were the very best and the very worst of me, you know. Yeah. There's an old story about a guy who was trying to find out how two siblings could end up so at the opposite ends of the spectrum. One was on death row and the other was a very famous doctor, and he went to the doctor and said, how is it that you were able to achieve what you achieved? And he said, well, fundamentally, with the kind of father I had, what could you expect? And he went to the death row cell and said, how did you end up here? What would you attribute? He said, well, with the kind of father I had, what would you expect? So, you know, it's a lot about perspective.
Yeah, that is. It's interesting you say that. This is a bit of a departure, but when you say something like that, you know, your brother, your son, he certainly has been talked about, Charlie has been, but he seems like he's doing well.
Yeah, very well.
And it is in a good place. I mean, we saw him on the Emmys. Some people said, "Oh, that was awkward," but I mean, it's just my opinion. I thought he said just the right thing. Thought it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
No,
We were on the road that night, so we missed it. But I heard some very good reports, and I understand he was very brave.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like, very brave. So you would say in a good place, everybody's happy. And I think the important thing is kind of what you were saying about your father. Together for 50 years, supportive, you're a close family. That makes a difference, doesn't it? When
It's
you're
all
going
different.
through something difficult.
Right.
Yeah, you stick together.
Yeah, so important. Now, it was interesting with this film, too. I read that you had thought about or wanted to take this pilgrimage and kind
did,
of
yeah.
tapped into a little bit of it. You want to do the whole thing?
I did, yeah. Well, you know, my father was from Pararrubias, Salto Revolta, which is just about 80 kilometers from Santiago. So I knew about the pilgrimage growing up, and it was, you know, a kind of a romantic ideal I had to someday do it. And it's like, you know, you'll get around to it eventually. But between the break between season 2003 and 2004 on the West Wing, we held a family reunion in Ireland, and then we went to Spain afterwards. And my grandson Taylor, his son, who was working for me as an assistant, was 19 at the time, and I was trying to figure out a way to do the Camino, which was 800 kilometers in 2 weeks, and it was nonsense. I didn't even have a backpack. All I had was a map and a great desire to do it, but it wasn't practical. So what we decided to do was to rent a car, drive it for future reference, and we did. And we got to Burgos, which is one of the major towns on the Camino, where the little boy steals my bag in the film. And we stayed at a Casa Rural, which is like a B&B in the country. And we were at the Pilgrim Supper that night, pilgrims from all over the world, and the family serving us had a young daughter, Julia, a very beautiful young girl, who looked at Taylor, and Taylor looked at her, and they've been looking at each other ever since. They're married and they live in Burgos. And so that was the initial hook that got us involved. And I came home with this story for, how do I explain this to his father, you know, what happened on the Camino. So that was the start of it.
So sort of some random questions that do sort of have something to do with the movie. I'm just going to throw out, you give me what your first answer is. What is your favorite James Taylor song?
Fire and Rain.
Fire and Rain, yeah.
Same.
But we used Country Road in this film.
We applied for Fire and Rain, and Mr. Taylor assured us that he would never give a license for that to anybody ever, but we could have any other song. He played on the West Wing one time, so I got to know him a little bit, and I adore him, and I'm a huge fan. So actually, we landed on a better song with Country Roads.
You called him on your cell phone, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
JT, I need a favor.
No, I didn't. Did you talk to him?
I got a pretty extensive Rolodex, so I can prove. I'll pick up the phone.
Oh, wow. See, I'm impressed with this guy.
Very
No.
impressive. On a road trip, the one thing that you feel like you would need for a long, long walk?
Vaseline. Seriously, for
Really?
your
Socks,
feet.
yeah,
For
for
your
your
feet?
feet.
Yeah, because you're going to get blisters, and they're going to stop you.
Okay.
Cold. Yeah, people. That's one of the biggest problems. Is the Vaseline? You know, if you don't lubricate your feet, you have to stop and deal with severe blisters. So and that's in every guidebook. Take some form of lubrication, and Vaseline was the best we ever had. You know.
Same for you?
Walking
Vaseline?
stick. Weapon.
Oh, walking stick.
Gotta have
Weapon.
a weapon.
Yeah.
Dogs, people. Gotta have a walking stick.
What's the one material thing that you would miss if all you had was a backpack?
Water.
Material thing.
Material, like something
like a
that
cell
you don't have
phone.
to have. Yeah,
A rosary. Me? Yeah, a rosary.
that's what you would
Yeah.
miss.
For me, probably a cell phone. Right.
Favorite city in Europe?
In all of Europe? I'm stopping to think. Why am I stopping?
Madrid.
Okay.
For me, oh gosh,
You can take a pass
favorite
if you
city
want.
in all of Europe. I'd have to say Paris. Sorry.
It's okay.
And then finally, what is the one lesson that, Martin, you've learned from Emilio, and Emilio, you've learned from your father?
Patience.
Discipline.
Trust.
Discipline.
I think we'll end on that note. And maybe a Go Bucks, your number 2 favorite team.
Okay. Okay. Go Bucks. Boy, they've just beaten themselves up this year.
We
You
can't
know.
even go there.
No, I know.
I know.
You'll come out of it.
Eventually.
Sure you will. They're just kids.
Good to meet both of you.
You too.
The movie's beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't choose a life, Dad. You live one.